Yes, ladies and gentlemen, your eyes don't deceive you. It is Collecting Profit, episode number 114, special episode of Major League Baseball preview. National League, we did American League last week, doing National League, and we got a full panel. This is going to be a lot of fun. We'll go around the room, and everybody just say a little hello, and then we'll go ahead and jump into this. And we'll start off with who's to my this way, Matty Ice.
Okay, but I'm the other way. So.
Yeah, you pointed the wrong way. Wrong way.
Nope. No, well, on my
hello,
screen,
everyone.
I'm pointing right.
Oh.
That's it. Hello, that's it.
Hello, everyone. Yeah,
Mike.
What's going on, everybody? How you doing?
Dami.
Good evening, folks. And first and foremost, happy birthday, Big John.
Big John, how you doing?
How we doing, everybody? What's up, Dom? What color socks we got on? We got to do the sock check. He must not be wearing socks today. Okay.
No socks.
Before we start, National League preview show, the one thing I found very interesting, there's a lot of guys who signed 1-year contracts. There are, when you look at the number of contracts that was signed, there are more 1-year deals than there are, multiple years deals. I found that kind of interesting. But hey, we'll see what is happening here. So we're going to start off in the West. And we'll start off with the Arizona Diamondbacks. I mean, they made one big one in Corbin Burns. Josh Naylor is a fill-in for losing Christian Walker, but Naylor is younger, but he has to, I guess, figure out if he could go ahead and, be able to keep his weight in check from what I have heard. They have a good young team. They have good young players and everything. They're probably second-place team. As far as, as far as I think, Matty, what about you?
Yeah, I think you're spot on second place for sure. I mean, obviously that's a that's a tough division. So, with the monster. So, yeah, I mean, good acquisition in Corbin Burns, of course. It's a good roster. They should do well, but obviously they've got their hands full.
Yeah, Mike.
They'll be fighting for a wild card spot. If they all stay healthy. I mean, it's a good rotation, but always questions about health. Yeah, I mean, they'll be able to compete for a wild card. Unfortunately, miracles would have to happen for them to win the division, but hey, crazier things have happened.
Very true. Dom?
No, I don't know that they're good enough for second place yet. San Diego's got a better lineup. They have the better pitching staff. I think the Cy Young this year is going to come out of, let's see what happens with the Dodgers. But Zach Allen's my front runner for this year for Cy Young. It's him and Wheeler. They've got Corbin Burns, who's no joke. Killer lineup. I don't know if they can overpower the Padres. We'll get to them when we get to them, but they're. I don't think that Burns and Greshik and Graveman, I don't know. I don't think they could. They might get a wild card, but two of them are going to come out of the East to begin with, so it's going to be interesting.
Big John.
So this division may be the best division in baseball, right? At least the deepest. Diamondbacks, it's going to go, how the Young Bucks go with Corbin Carroll, Ketel Marte, how they do. But
hey, John.
Probably is top 5 pitching staff in the league as well, with Burns, Gallen, and Kelly to start it off with.
Yeah.
So
they're 4 and 5. They're 4 and 5 aren't bad either.
Yeah, no. If they're not second, then it has to be to injuries. I don't think it'll be because of play on the field.
Walker made a point. Hey, Dodgers lost their, almost their whole pitching staff. Mookie for half a season. They still won. Yeah, they are going to be very hard to go ahead and stop, and we'll get into them. But I think, look, Diamondbacks, I think we're all in agreement. 2-3 from that standpoint. The Rockies, look, the truth of the matter is there's really nothing to really even talk about them. I think another notable subtraction that was not listed but on here is, Chuck Nasty. They lost, Charlie Blackburn went ahead and retired. This team is last place team in that division. One little side note, Austin Gomber, he's actually the nephew of one of my fraternity brothers, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
But,
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, after that, there's nothing here to get you excited about it. So, I mean, I don't, I don't know how much, need to talk about them. Anybody want to chime in and give a thought? I just don't see much from this team at all.
I mean, I used to get excited for KB, but he's a shell of himself now, and probably I would assume one of the highest paid on the team. So, yeah.
He's making more than the rest of the team combined.
Is he?
Probably.
Seriously?
Oh my gosh!
I'm just messing around. I would assume so.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's certainly possible. I mean, looking at this roster, I mean, who would even command? Who would command much money?
He signed for 7 years, $182 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does this, this being a tight division, you've got the juggernaut and then 2 really solid teams behind it. Who the hell am I missing? Oh, the Giants, right?
Yeah.
Which we'll see because they're starting to get, we'll talk about them, but do they compete for the worst record in baseball, right? We talked about the White Sox last week, but man, you got to play the Dodgers all those times, and then the Padres and these guys, and I might be overhyping the Padres, but they're loaded with talent too. I'm curious to see what this kid Dolander does. He's climbed his way up through the ranks pretty quick. He's throwing close to 100. Obviously that is a hitter's ballpark. I'm excited to see a healthy German Marquez come back. I'm a big fan of that guy. That's your comeback player of the year in the National League if I had to pick someone. But are they going to get clobbered?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many pitchers we've seen, do really well there. Dolander may be the, maybe that flamethrower type guy will be, a better guy there. I don't think they've had a guy who pitches like him or many of them that have come up through that organization. So he could go ahead and, I mean, he could be a difference maker, but not when you got those other guys, ahead of him, and you really don't have your bullpen is, chewing gum and painter's tape,
right?
So we'll see. We'll see.
To Dom's point, their payroll is less than 120 million.
Yep.
For this year.
Damn.
So,
yeah,
Wow.
I don't expect much for them. They'd have to catch fire from hitting.
Right.
You need every guy to have a career year. And what are
They don't even have depth.
I know, that's what I'm saying. They even their depth isn't even there. I mean, none of their guys. You look at their names; it's not like you gotta. So I don't know.
This is a stadium where, if somebody catches fire, everybody can. But that means that the people that they're playing too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very true. The team that everybody hates. It's amazing. When you look at what they added, it really is incredible. You add 2 pitchers, you bring back Kershaw, you add Kim, you add a closer in Scott, you add another good reliever in Yates. You pick up Conforto because I don't know why you didn't have enough freaking outfielders that you had to get another one. I mean, you had plenty of them, and you really didn't lose much. I mean, you lost Flaherty, but he was a trade. You got him at the deadline. Lux, I don't think they really ever were, too thrilled with him. And Bueller, an injury guy. So I don't know, to kind of what Locken's point, what he's saying. I mean, this is the ultimate team to where they have plug and play players at every single position. I mean, when you look at this, I mean, you get takeaway catcher, but probably the only 2 guys who can't play multiple positions are Freddie Freeman and Michael Conforto. After that, these guys can move all over, and Conforto can play other outfield. So from that standpoint,
right,
it's going to be. I don't know. It's going to be very, 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 very interesting. Big John, thoughts?
I mean, with all that you just said, plus they'll have the option for Ohtani to pitch as well. They're going to have enough pitching to give people rest to buy through injury. Like, they can run 7 pitchers, 7 starters because they pitch. And I'm just. They're going to come down to the game of baseball if they lose, just to chalk it up to be baseball being unpredictable. Because on paper, they should run to 120 wins easily.
Oh yeah, I most definitely, Mike.
I mean, yeah, it's annoying how they have all this deferred money and all this stuff, but I mean, they're playing by the rules, so I mean, can't hate them for that. They're doing everything that right, but it's just sucks. But hate to see Conforto in blue, that shade of blue.
Mm-hmm.
You missed a notable acquisition. They did sign Michael Chavis. He's a Dodger now too.
Oh
So
wow,
there's
nice.
another infield utility guy for them. But yeah, I mean, if you're looking at that starting lineup right there, their weakest position would probably be center field, and then maybe left. But other than that, it's like all top people in their position.
Yep. Matty?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that's been said. Just looking at the pitching, I mean, I'm really curious to see how Sasaki does. Because if he comes in like even has a halfway decent year, I don't see how anyone can stop them.
No, I mean, Dom.
I mean, you look at these pickups. We're all kind of saying the same thing here. They have 3 MVPs on the club, right? Ohtani, obviously, Betts, and Freeman. And then they picked up a whole other lineup of players, right? They basically added a whole, Larkin said, 2 elite closers. You bring back Kershaw. As long as this dude could hold up, it's a pleasure watching him pitch. I don't want to root for them, but they're doing this the right way. They're top 10 they might even be top 5. I think they were top 10 in farm system, right? Look at who they've brought up. It's crazy. And you got to figure that their window is essentially 9 more years for real. Is 9 more years, right? Before that Otani money kicks in and all this other deferred money, like what the hell do they do? What do they do? I guess they have to enjoy it now. But when you're paying somebody $68 million a year, that's not even potentially going to be on your lineup. This lineup is bonkers. It's loaded. It's loaded. With just look at the pitching staff. That pitching staff alone is enough. You know,
and you have Kershaw that they're not showing.
Right. It's crazy. You got, him, Dustin May, they they had the ability to let Bueller, who is gonna do really well. I will not root for Boston, but I think the kid's gonna have a bounce back year. Flaherty's been up and down, so they had two guys that were all stars, right at their
I
peak.
forgot Dustin May is back.
They were two of the best pitchers. They were, Flaherty had an unreal 2019. Bueller was really, really good until he got hurt, and they let them walk away because they got better players. Right? You got Otani coming back. Glasnow, when healthy, man, is underrated. He really is a stud. This is just Blake Snell's won 2 Cy Youngs. It's bonkers, man. It's crazy. But the Mets are going to beat them, so I'm sticking to that.
Yeah. I mean, again, you're talking about that. You need probably, when you think about it, you need Sasaki to go ahead and not do well. You need Otani to not be able to pitch well. Yamamoto have a sophomore slump, but you're still going to have to go ahead and score a bunch of runs because if their offensive, if they're 9 guys they put out to play regular positions perform, they're going to score a bunch of runs also.
They have
DJ, how's it going, buddy?
Three freaking MVPs, and they got a kid like Dustin May and Kershaw who don't crack the opening lineup.
Yeah,
bonkers.
It's definitely crazy. Bobby Miller too, another guy who got hurt. They are loaded. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And next year they're going to add. They're going to get rid of Max Muncy next year, and they're going to add the Japanese third baseman because that's what's going to happen, and it's going to suck.
So I read it. Man, I should have sent you the article, Mike, to post, but I read some, because they're doing in the offseason, they're doing like $300 million worth of off-grades within the stadium and outside the stadium. They bring in a ridiculous number. Now, it is LA. It's, one of the biggest markets in the world, for television. They bring in over $300 million a year.
Hey, Hunter.
From their TV rights, between what they're making in LA and what they've licensed out to a station to Japan. It's ridiculous. Their payroll is what I know we talked about it last week, 350, 390. It's bonkers.
Let's see. Dodgers are at their cash total is $351 million. So, I mean, it's just, it's absolutely crazy when you think about from a luxury tax standpoint. Shohei's at 46, Snell's at 31, Betts is at 30, Glasnow's at 27, Yamamoto's at 27, Freddie Freeman's at 27. Hernandez is at 19. Conforto's at 17. Tanner Scott's at 16. I mean, it's freaking ridiculous. Chris Taylor, who's not even on here, is making $15 million a year.
They had $17 million to throw at Conforto. I'm a big fan of the kid, but who the heck else was paying him that?
No idea. But they needed him.
Needed them or wanted?
How many closers do you need? How many closers do you need?
A lot. All right, and Dom, here's the guys you talked about. I don't think they really added anything crazy. Pivetta, all right. I mean, he's not, and they got Diaz, but not a big deal. Connor Joe. Jason Hayward, I didn't realize he was still playing. They lost. They lose Tanner Scott, they lose Profar, they lose Kim. So it's going to be interesting. The Kim losing Kim. I don't really think it affects them that much because again they had flexibility when they got a rise. The thing about this team is that they potentially could lose Dylan Cease and Michael King if they're not doing well or they're maybe close to fighting for a playoff spot. There may be a team that comes and asks about those two guys, which would hurt them. That would definitely hurt them. So, but I agree they're probably second or third place. I think it's them and the Diamondbacks for that spot. So, so we'll see. Dom, you love these guys. What do you think?
It's respect of the lineup. They've got some big boy bats in there, right? Tatis is, back to, ringworm medicine and motorcycle crash Tatis and, and Bogarts and, Cronenworth, Machado, minus Cronenworth, that's three big boys there. Again, pitching staff doesn't necessarily match up with Arizona, and definitely doesn't match up with the Dodgers. But this GM is not afraid to make moves. So I'm not picking for them to be in the World Series. It's just they can hang. I really think they can hang. They took the knocked the Dodgers out of the playoffs not too long ago. Hung with them this I want to say this year, right? Those three boys, that's nothing to sneeze at. That's bigger than any bats that. No offense to Arizona, is bigger than any bats that Arizona's got. Most other National League teams to boot too. They picked up nowhere near what they lost, but that starting five is nothing to sneeze home about.
Dom, how good is Jackson Merrill? That is my question. I haven't seen him.
Wait, he was second. He was, if I'm not mistaken, second in rookie year voting, right? So
Yes.
So that'll tell you. I mean, Skeens really took the baseball world by storm. We got a rookie starting the All-Star game. I don't watch enough games to really know. They got a beautiful stadium. I can tell you that. I didn't make it inside when I was out there about 10 years ago, but I mean that should say it right there when you lose to Paul Skeens.
Well, I think it's like any young player, John. I mean, what does he do this year? More film on him. What are guys looking? How does he make adjustments and stuff? I think that'll be the key. The good thing about him is when you look at that lineup, he's going to have hitters around him, so he has to get pitched to.
Right. Walken brings up a good point here. If you guys have been following the ownership situation, it's a little bit of a mess. I'm not sure how the hell the ownership went to one of the brothers. Like the owner died. You'd figure like it stays within the family, but the wife is suing the brothers. The brothers are countersuing. MLB awarded ownership to one of the brothers. So that probably hampered. And I think they were one of the many teams with TV rights issues too. But
it's interesting when you look at the prospect rankings, on MLB's website. Their top 10 prospects are no higher than Double-A ball. Out of their top 10, they have one guy who's in Double-A. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys in their top 10 that are in rookie ball.
Oof. So nobody ready to come up.
They
Yeah.
dealt away. They dealt away a lot of assets.
They did. They
Oh,
did
yeah.
to make those moves to get Cease when they tried to get who was the other one? Soto, when they brought Soto in and stuff.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting. Maddie, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, just talking about that, I think that was their window because that was before the Dodgers did what they did, you know. So it is interesting to see Jay Hay there on the roster now. I don't know much about this roster, but I know it's loaded as far as the bat is concerned. So, and Arias, he's kind of a wild card. Can he stay healthy? Can he stay not suspended or unsuspended? I guess would be because he's had some issues with that. So. I think was he suspended last year, right, for 60 games or something like that for roids. So
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't remember.
I think he was, if I remember right. So
I mean, losing Kim puts Bogarts back to his natural position because towards the end of last year they moved Bogarts to second and had Kim at short. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. Mike, what are your thoughts?
I mean, go back what you're saying about if they try to move Cease or King, if they move one of them, they'll be all right because they still got Musgrove. It'd be concerning if they move both of them, because if they move both of them, then they're kind of, not great. But they still have Joe Musgrove on the roster. So I mean, he's always a decent starter for you. But other than that, yeah, if they're in a win now kind of window, but they're not even like super stacked or super set up to win now, unfortunately. So it's a long years ahead for Padres fan.
And well, they just today for $3 million picked up OMG. So let's see if that kid is a kid. Let's see if he's a difference maker for him.
I mean, he's going to be a good fill-in guy. We know that. We know he's going to bring energy. We know he's going to do that, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, their bullpen is a very, very good bullpen. So that'll always lead. I mean, look, they're going to be right there. They're a second, third place team in that division for sure. If they could stay close, who knows? If they decide they got to blow it up, well, then I mean, that's going to be interesting, too. So who knows?
You have the pieces to get rid of.
They do. They do. For sure.
If they get rid of one of those two guys, and that's a possibility if they sink down to third and they're way out of it, you'd figure they'll get some prospects, but they also have the ability to say, hey, give us a major league ready player. Give me an untapped pitcher or something. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think that's what they wanted. I think they wanted that from what I heard for King and Cease. They wanted a combination of major league ready players and prospects. So
right.
We'll see what happens. San Francisco Giants. I mean, they basically made a big splash for Willy Adames. That crazy 7 years, $180 million contract, which crazy in my opinion, especially because I don't know how much of I don't know how much of a hitter's park Milwaukee is, but you go from there and you go to San Francisco. Robbie Ray, they need him to go ahead and come back and do something. Logan Webb, serviceable. Verlander, not sure why, but okay. Bailey's good there. Chapman did well. Outfield is okay, but I don't. I think they're fourth place. I think that they battle. They're in my opinion, their ceiling is fourth place in that division.
Yeah.
So Big John.
San Francisco is one of those organizations that on paper look like a fourth place team, but every few years they put it together and they make a run. And you just never know when it is. Every few years, they look like we're not here, and then they're in the World Series. So I don't ever count them out, but I will say they need some talent. Like, very disappointed in Marco Luciano. His first couple of years in the big leagues has been. I mean, having Chapman, Adames, those are good pieces to have, but they don't have a superstar hitter. Somebody there's nobody in that lineup that pitchers fear.
Right.
But the pitching staff, Logan Webb, you got Duvall out the bullpen. They can be in some games.
Yeah, and they got a couple of good young pitchers in the minor leagues.
They're the exact opposite of the Dodgers, but if they can put it together, they can every couple of years they just get scary.
Maddie?
Yeah, I mean he's right on that. I don't know if I see it with this roster. I mean, if you're relying on Verlander as your second or third starter, I don't see that at all. I mean, he's clearly declined. So, yeah, this is I think we're spot on with like fourth place because they didn't pick up much for sure. So, and paid way too much for Adames. So,
Mike?
It would just be interesting to see if they call up their top prospect Eldridge this year. If they're not, if they're not playing for a playoff spot, to call him up and get him big league reps or whatever. But I didn't realize that dude's freaking 6'7".
Yeah.
That's gigantic. But yeah, I think they'll be the bottom half of the table. See what happens. But like John said, I mean, they're a well-run organization that every now and again they'll make a sneaky run and surprise you, but they can go either way. It would be cool to see Jung Ho Lee for hopefully a full season because he was out for a good part of last year, and that was a big signing for them 2 years ago. So it'd be cool to see him play and see how he does.
Very true. Dom?
They got a nice little core here, building up with Bailey, Tyler Fitzgerald. Made some noise last year. They did. They did extend Chapman, who is a big bat. Adames, they had to make some noise, right? Because you think about all the guys they lost out in the past couple of years. They made bids at, at Ohtani and Judge. There was, Judge is on his way to. Judge is on a plane, and then the next day he signs with the Yankees. So, same thing with CEO. I'm looking forward to this kid Eldridge coming up. The kid Holy. I have a big boy card that Mike graded for me. So from a collecting for profit standpoint, I gotta wait to see if he does anything. And then I can offload that card, and it will pay for all the cards that I had to get graded. But so just saying, I happen to get that I forget who I got in a break with. They're a fun team, and they still have our guy Wilmer Flores out there, but they can't hang. Plain and simple. John's right into not underrate them, but you look at that pitching staff, and you got a converted relief guy. Harrison is solid. Webb's an all-star. He's a stud. Verlander, keep getting those wins, man, because he is. From a history perspective, he is the closest we're going to see to a player getting to 300 wins again. So, that's kind of a big deal. Just a quick hello to one of my best friends for about 30 years, Sully Bear. He's watching. His son is my buddy Jack Elmet that I was promoting for a while. That does sports and stuff. So he's watching. I'm looking forward to running into him soon because we share birthdays. But yeah, that's my take on the Giants. They have one of the best stadiums probably in baseball, but that doesn't win games.
But ultimately, I think when this is the last team in the West, it's ultimately the Dodgers' division to lose.
Yes,
I don't think there's any way around that.
They'd have to not play for half the year, right?
Yes, I mean, you'd have. They would. They literally would have to have about the first 20 guys on their roster all get injured.
Which
And
is
then you'd start,
right.
and they would figure out a way to go ahead and still be good though in some strange.
That would be $300 million worth of players on the IL. That's bonkers.
So we have the Chicago Cubs. That you know what, Maddie, I'm going to let you go ahead and then John go ahead and take this one.
Well, of course.
What do you think about the ads? What do you think about the subtractions? And then overall.
I think we had a decent off season. I think, I like the pickup of Tucker. I think what really concerns me right now is keeping him because we gave up quite a bit to get him. And if it's just a 1-year rental, that's scary. So, love that pickup. Love getting Brujan. I mean, that was kind of just out of nowhere. So we'll see how he does. Obviously, losing Belly, I was not necessarily thrilled with because I thought he just added something to our lineup. But, Tucker's probably going to do way more than he did. So you've got that. Hendricks, hated losing him because he was the last player from the World Series team on our roster. And he's still a formidable player. Like he's, he had some down games, but man, when he was on, he was on. So, and then that trade, obviously Paredes is gone because of the trade with Tucker. We didn't see much of him. We got him because of trading Morel, and then I just don't know on him. He didn't seem to mesh well with the team really, so maybe it was good that he's gone. But as far as just the roster looking at it, I mean, I think we can make some noise. I mean, how can I not mention PCA? PCA is like, did anybody see the infield home run? I think it was yesterday. I mean, he's crazy. It's like literally he's playing hot potato out there and they can't stop him. Like they just can't catch him.
We're taking him back, by the way. You can have Sterling Marte.
We're good. We'll keep PCA.
What about you, Big John?
You go, John. We got so much to say on this.
So, all right. I hated losing Belly because I think we revived his career, right? Especially last year, he was a big part of trying to make the change. I like having Tucker, another big bat. And the only reason why I'm okay with losing Belly because he was holding up prospects like PCA with center field. He's, it's hard to say we got to get rid of a Gold Glove center fielder because we have another Gold Glove center fielder, right?
True.
But defensively up the middle, they should have 4 Gold Gloves on that team between Horner, Swanson, Happ, and PCA. And then it's really going to come down to the pitching, right? How soon do they call up Cade Horton and get a fireball in their pitcher? Because after Talion, it gets dicey. Those 4 and 5 games, they're good pitchers, but they're not. I still would rather have Kyle Hendricks instead of Assad, right? I feel a lot more comfortable with Hendricks pitching in the 5 slot. But offensively, they should be better. Michael Bush can hit. Matt Shaw can hit bombs, and you're gonna have PCA getting on base. So I'm happily confident in our ability to make the playoffs this year. I mean, this is gonna come down to coaching, honestly. We took the Brewers coach last year. He's got to win 15 games off coaching alone, and to get us in the playoffs.
Yeah, and the question is, do we trust his coaching? We'll see. I'm skeptical. So, yeah, I mean, he did great with the Brew Crew, but
yeah,
well,
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, that's the one thing, from that standpoint. I mean, I think, and Ryan Presley also is another, very good pickup.
Mhm.
For those guys. I mean, yeah, I mean, you're pitching, your offense looks pretty good. Across the board. Not, nobody there is going to be like, oh my god, nobody's going to be, probably, other than Tucker potentially, I don't think you have anybody that's going to, challenge for, the batting title or home run title, stuff like that. But overall, I mean, very good. Hap is, I think Hap's better than a lot of people think he is.
Yes.
I think he's a little underrated as a player.
He's just consistent. He's
Yeah, power and speed. He hits enough home runs. He steals enough, bases for you. Dansby's, he's solid right there. He's going to make the plays he has to make. I think, Bush, another full year of playing, very good. Shaw, rookie. So we'll see what happens with him. PCA, another one. I think that's another, a big one there and everything. But, Mike, what do you think?
I think if they can lock down Tucker for next couple of years, I think they have a really good 5-year window ahead, because you look at their top 6 prospects and they're all ETAs this year and they're all in AAA. So, and the oldest one is 23. So they have a good young core that can be up at any moment this year, next year, and then take over from some of these older guys that are playing right now. But I think they're set up pretty good. Very happy for John and Maddie.
They do have room in the payroll. They're at 190 million, so they do have some room. I mean, I thought Ricketts was a guy who might spend, but Dom, what do you think?
Another kind of fun team to watch. I am from a baseball card perspective, and I probably got to fish these out and send them to Matty Ice and Doug, but to see what Kevin Alcantara does, right? Finally, man, I forgot who they traded for. But to the Yank, PCA is my main reason to watch the Cubs. This kid is, if he stays up, is your Gold Glove winner for the next 10 years if he's healthy. Obviously, he's got to hit and stay in the lineup at that position. That's not a position where, you could be a Ray Ordonez and hit 230, but, win a platinum award. We'll see. Where do you guys see them finishing in the division? Can they take it? Are they 2?
2.
I don't know. I mean, to me, they're 1 or 2. I'm not sure.
I think they take it.
Yeah.
With what we picked up this year, I think that gets us over the hump, but it all comes down to coaching, like we just said.
Also, I want to add this. PCA is just as exciting of a player to watch as Ellie De La Cruz and O'Neal Cruz, and doesn't get enough attention for just how exciting he is to watch play baseball.
He will. There's more flair. They played more games than he did, and O'Neal's got a season on both of these guys. But just watching him, when he was in the minors with the Mets, I was upset initially that they drafted him because they drafted him in 2020 right ahead of Austin Wells, and I had watched Austin Wells play in college, and at the time, the Mets needed a real catcher, and then they bleep and traded him for that POS Baez with his thumb down bull crap. Man, that fucking GM, man, should have been thrown out of fucking baseball forever.
That's going to be one of the greatest trades in Cubs history.
Yeah, PCA is going to win a Gold Glove for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
There isn't a center fielder that can hang with him.
The best thing the Mets didn't do, was sign Javi long term.
Oh, most definitely.
They tried.
Most definitely.
They tried.
Cincinnati Reds. I don't think they made any big moves. I mean, I think getting Lux was good. Brady Singer, okay. Jonathan India, I don't, Ty Frank. I don't think their losses were that much. I mean, India wasn't gonna go ahead and play. He was doing that, substitute role or utility role. In Kansas City, he's gonna be a full-time player now, but I'm not sure. But Mike, what do you think?
I think they'll be in the middle of the division. I mean, they got one of the most exciting players in LA playing center or short and, doing what he does. I mean, it's a solid lineup if they stay healthy because all last year McLean was out. They added some pieces, Lux. Surprised they have him penciled in there at third over Jermaine, and then you got some young guys in Spencer Steer and Christian or Carnacion Strat, however long his name is. And they got a solid starting rotation. And then, I mean, got a couple guys that could got called up for the rotation to help out too, and Rhett Lauder and Chase Burns. But solid middle of the pack, middle of the road team.
John?
I like Cincinnati as a thought process. Their prospects tend to overperform once they come up for a little bit. But Spencer Steer is going to be good. Matt McLean is going to be good. You have Ellie, so that's going to put butts in seats. Candelario should be decent. They just don't have the pitching from name power. Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, Brady Singer, Andrew Abbott. We just don't know them as star pitchers.
Right.
So I think they can finish third.
Third? That's Maddie?
Yeah, I think I would slot them in at third around that as well. Yeah, I mean, what he said about the pitching, that's I don't see much behind that pitching staff. So, they've got, I think, some good prospects coming up, but yeah. I mean, Ellie's going to win him some games, of course. I don't know what his plus minus is, but yeah, probably third, just knowing how other teams are in our division too. So
yeah, I mean, their two top prospects are pitchers. So
Rhett Lauder.
Yeah, and Chase Burns. They don't have Ashcroft on here, so I'm not saying he might have been hurt. Who knows what's going on with him? He was another starter who did well. They added some good pieces to the bullpen in Rogers and Barlow. I mean, those two guys were good. Austin Hayes was no slouch. So, I mean, and that ballpark, who knows? I mean, these guys go ahead and get hot and stuff. That ballpark, balls, move from that standpoint. I think, Mike, you mentioned Jameer, but they have him penciled in as DH. So I could see maybe him and Lux doing a little, back and forth there and everything. So, depth. I mean, it'll be interesting. They got to stay healthy. They're pitching. They have had injuries with their starters over the last couple of years. But if they can stay healthy and, to your point, you don't know what a guy like Ellie could do with his energy of what it does for a bunch of other guys. Spencer Steer is a guy that is another one of those under the radar guys. I mean, he was a 2020 guy last year, drove in 90 runs. So it's going to be interesting. And, as Larkin said, one of the other big things is Terry Francona is going to be there. And when you add Tito, you saw what he did in Boston. You saw what he did in Cleveland. Another young team, so it'll be interesting. They do have Will Benson too, who is not, who seems to be slotting back, and I think Benson. That's because he really was crappy last year. Hopefully he gets a better shot and everything. But I think they're middle of the road for that division, for that piece. What about you, Dom?
Said it a couple of times already. Nice core of kids, nice core group of kids. I think one of the, they have Ellie. I'm think they've got one of the best closers in baseball. Edwin Diaz is his little brother. We'll see. We'll see what they can. We'll see what they can do. But yeah, middle of the pack. It's nice that they got a kid like Ellie to put on the main stage, get him some attention. We'll see. I'll have much more to say than that.
Milwaukee Brew ha's. Losing Adames, I think in that part hurts. Devin Williams, look, people are gonna remember, one of the last pitches he threw, which happened to be just a 3-run home run to Pete Alonso for them to win that game. But we could talk about that later. But he was hurt most of the year with his back. But when healthy, he's really, really good. So losing him is tough. And, after that, I don't really think a lot of those other losses are there. They added
Pitching.
one starter and a bunch of relievers. When you look at that staff, Freddie Peralta, Woodruff, Nestor Cortez, Cervalli, Tobias Myers, they're going to somehow slot Jose Quintana in there. I don't know. Interesting team. They got, the young outfield. Their outfield is very, very young in Churio, Mitchell, and Freilich. I don't know much about Joey Ortiz.
Freddy's another speedster.
Yeah. I don't know much about Durbin and Ortiz. Terang was decent last year. Hoskins is Hoskins, and William Contreras is William Contreras. So I'm not sure. Dom?
I think I watched.
I agree, Lockin.
I watched Cooper Pratt play. Some highlights of him. I think he comes up, and honestly, he's the replacement for Adames. He is elite level with his glove. They got I forget the catcher's name, but when he comes up,
Jefferson Cuero.
Yeah, should be really good. He's really flashy. I am a big fan of Brandon Woodruff, so I'm hoping when he's healthy, that he's back to form. This is a team that our current GM kind of built the blueprint of, and they compete without, I think if I'm not mistaken, Churio was the highest paid player on the team, right? So
no, Yelly.
Oh yeah, that makes sense, right?
Yelly's at 23, Hoskins is at 17, and then Churio is at 10.
This team can make some noise, but there's a lot of names on here that are, let's see what happens with Yelly. I'm rooting for him, but Jake Bowers and Mark Hanna, aren't really gonna carry a team. There's some exciting players on here. I think we have them pegged to win the division, if I'm not mistaken, guys.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think they lost really more than they picked up. Quintana, it's hopefully is a nice signing for him. Nestor Cortez sucks. Sorry. He's
nothing to be sorry about when you're talking the truth.
Yeah, he had a good year, and I actively I don't root against many active players right now. Maybe Baez. I'm not a Correa fan either. Piece of garbage. Most of the cheating Astro players, but those clowns threw Beltran under the bus, so they can kiss my ass. But We know that their blueprint, right? This is a team, like I mentioned. Stearns is doing it. Obviously he's gone, but he was gone as their as a high ranking official for a year even beforehand. But a healthy Woodruff can help carry this team. But I don't think we get him back till May. Should be interesting.
Mike?
Yeah, I mean, going off what Dom just said, Woodruff's gonna have to come back and be his normal self. This infield and outfield is a very speedy runners on the base path, so they're gonna cause a lot of issues with catchers and I'm sure with the timing of pitchers and the pole step off thing, but also pick up a extra bagger here and there when they can turn like a single into a double type of stuff and pick up a first to third instead of a first to second type of thing to pick up runs here and there. And they got that outfield's very young. The middle infield and third base is young. I mean, if you're looking at, I think in that defensive starting 8, I would say Rhys Hoskins is probably the oldest one, and I don't even think he's that old. But yeah, I have them winning this division.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, Hoskins is 31. I mean, really,
Wow.
Yelich is 33. Hoskins is 31. Everybody else is, mid-20s or younger. I mean, Churio's only 20 years old.
Stupid.
Frelick is 24. Mitchell is 26. So I mean, it's going to be interesting. Maddie?
I was just going to say it's an interesting team because you're right, youth in their starting lineup, but then their pitching staff, I would assume, has to be one of the oldest in the league when you look at average ages. Now, I could be wrong on that, but is Tobias Myers the only one that's under? Well, Peralta might be. He's even creeping. I don't know. It's an older staff, so they're experienced. I would put them at second in the division. I think yes, losing Adames is huge in that ballpark for sure. So, and they all they picked up was pitching. So, and not necessarily crazy pitching either. I mean, I'm shocked that Quintana is still pitching. I mean, how old is he? It seems like years ago he was on the Cubs even.
Yeah, so he was a Cub.
He's 36.
35. Yeah.
36. Okay.
He's 36. But he's a lefty. And lefty pitchers
Very true.
Pitch forever.
Yeah. Yep.
John?
I agree. Like, they only got his pitching, but they've won it twice in a row with what they have, and they didn't make a change. So I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt and not be biased. I'm gonna save my bias for my hate for the Cardinals.
That sounds good.
Well, did the Cubs improve enough to overtake them? Right. I guess that's the question.
Yeah.
I think they did, and the Brewers didn't. So, if that makes sense.
So, Pittsburgh Pirates, a surprise team. They really didn't make any big time, moves. And they got Spencer Horwitz, but I mean, if that's probably, the biggest thing, one of the biggest changes they did make was taking O'Neal Cruz and basically making him their full-time center fielder now.
Mm-hmm.
Pulling him out of short, with doing that type of thing. It. I don't know. I look at this team and I say, to me, I think the one guy you can go ahead and see them getting rid of, if at some point in time this year, is going to be Mitch Keller. Good enough pitcher, probably a good addition to a contender. But I could see that happening. Everybody else, I mean, they are what they are. So, Big John?
It's Pittsburgh, right? They don't spend any money. They don't sign anybody. and they don't have enough good prospects to make you fear them, right? They're probably going to be in last place, and they have names: Joey Bart, Ron Hayes, O'Neill Cruz, who coming through the system. You were excited about it. You were buying their cards, prospecting about it, and they just don't play that well on the field. The fact that Henry Davis, who was a top prospect, is behind Joey Bart is telling. It's either bad coaching or bad player development.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you have ownership who won't spend money to bring in quality vets to win. So they're not committed to winning. So how long does Paul Skeens, O'Neill Cruz stay there?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I agree. I mean, to me, I agree from that standpoint. I mean, I don't know how. He's one of those guys. Skeens is the guy where if he does and what he did as a rookie next year, you really got to go and say the hell with this arbitration crap. Give him that 6, 7, 8-year deal, and lock him up and keep him there.
Lock him up, and you still gonna end up trading him in 2 years. Like, my thing is, if we go back to the West, like Ryan Diamondbacks, and I'm trying to compete with LA 2 years down the road, and Pittsburgh is being Pittsburgh, what don't I give up to get Skeens to take me over the top?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like Larkin says, they have a ton of prospects too. So I don't know. Like, what are you going to get in return? You're gonna. I mean, so it's very, very interesting from that standpoint. Not. I mean, good questions. I don't know. Dom.
They're obviously an interesting team because they have the ability to be competitive for the first time in a while. But I just don't. This is one of those teams where the owner, like, what are you in it for? Like, what are you doing? If you're not spending money to be competitive, and not everybody can spend Dodgers, Mets, Yankees money, Padres money, like, I get it. And we'll get to the Mets. That's going to be the last hour of the show, just me ranting and raving about the owner. But so like at the Fan Fest this year, there were chance to fire the owner, right? Which is what they were doing in Oakland.
Yep.
Right. And then obviously this is much less of a mess. There is a really, really good, solid core of players here, right? When you have a player like Skeens, right, with a ton of hype, who delivered, right, and is working on a curveball and something else to be more effective, like, that's scary. You got Keller, their best catcher. Didn't even play last year because he was hurt. Their best position player, catcher, is Enny Rodriguez, and he was hurt all year. So he's coming back, and he's going to give Joey Bart a run for his money. These guys, the talent is there, and Brian Reynolds and O'Neill Cruz, Key Brian Hayes, Nick Gonzalez. They're, they've got a really nice core of guys, but what do you do? What do you do? Look, for me, I'm old school. I love baseball players, right? So I'm watching games, and yeah, the flashy kids. O'Neill Cruz is, a little bit too flashy for his own good sometimes. But if you moved him out for IKF, right? I'm looking at this depth chart. Like, I'm not so sure about that. But is Kutch, right? One of those guys where Mike, will get some Hall of Fame votes like a Curtis Granderson. It's nice. He returned to his roots. Obviously, he's not the MVP level Kutch, but we'll do some good with this team. I'm sure is revered over there. We'd have to ask Pittsburgh, but for real. But we'll see. Like, what do they do? How do they get to the next level when the first thing you think of in the past, in the 80s, this was a scary ass team. scary with Bonds and Bonilla and Slike and everybody. Do they get back to there? It's not that long ago where they were competitive. And if you're an owner, like, what are you doing? Are you hanging out just to collect money and pick up chicks to say, oh, I own a team? Or are you trying to compete?
You know what? But I tell you the one thing, Dom, you look at it that, yes, they are the exact same type of team where you think about it. They have 3 or 4 young guys. Those teams that back in the middle 80s, that's what Pirates had, 3 or 4 young guys. And then what they do? Ben Slike left, Bonilla left, Bonds left. So I think it's it's a potentially you have the same exact thing, to go ahead and potentially, happen here with that, so
is the owner is he gonna compete? Is he, what do you do? Like, if you're not in it to compete, I think it's not my place to tell a billionaire or a millionaire what to do with that money, but like, what are you doing? I got to question, what are you in it for if not to be competitive, to get your own parking spot for bragging rights? Like, what are you doing, man? Like, come on, shit'll get off the pot, buddy.
I agree. Maddie?
Yeah, Pittsburgh's an interesting team for me just because they're the Indianapolis Indians are literally a minute from where I work. So
wow.
I can catch games, all the time. I've seen Skeens there. I saw Cruz and Hayes and all these guys with all this hype, and they have lived up to the hype, which is kind of cool. But Dom's right. Like, what are they doing? Like, okay, I'm going to go off this for a second and just say, so Skeens, you've got this star. I would have thought, so the patch card for Skeens, why didn't Pittsburgh just unload? Like, the fact that they didn't tells me that they're not serious. Like, they could have easily purchased that card from that kid for Skeens, and they should have, and then they should have paid Skeens. So,
does he sign up, right? Like, why is there a reason enough to stay there?
Yeah, no. Exactly. I don't think there is. And Skeens seems, he's humble, but I think, I see him in a big market. Easy.
Yeah. He made triple his starting salary between between the bonuses that he got and the pool play, the pool money, right? So, here's a kid making $800,000 because that's the minimum. Like, man, you go somewhere in a big market and then you'll get some big endorsements, besides, used car, stuff in Pittsburgh. And I'm not shitting on Pittsburgh, but, come on. I'm an hour away from New York City, right? So an hour and a half, depending on how I drive. But why sign? Like, they can offer him the money, but if he keeps playing like he's playing, he's going to get these bonuses, and then once he hits arbitration, then the pressure is on Pittsburgh because they behind him, you before him you got Hayes, and there's been a lot of talk up here about him being traded to the Yankees. I don't know if that's going to happen. And you got Cruz. So what are you going to, what are you doing? I'm sorry not to jump in there, but I wanted to point out, like, I think he's a super 2 as well, right? So, so he hits arbitration quicker, and this dude is obviously valuable if he stays healthy. But would you, Kutch didn't stay with the Pirates, right? Like, would you stay there? I know he got traded, but would you stay with the Pirates? For me, if if I ever was good enough and I could play for the Mets, I'd just stay with them, right? Unless I was going, like somewhere out west, like San Diego or whatever, but like I wouldn't, I quit before I played for the fucking Red Sox, So, but that's the whole thing. So do you stay there, right? Like, they can offer him this big ass contract. Do you gamble? Because if he stays healthy, some of these guys gambling. You have a Rendon who, got a contract and did nothing.
It boils down. It's a very simple choice. The players have a very, very simple choice. and it's only two. There's two. This is a B. There's nothing else.
Mhm.
Is it money or is it winning? That's the bottom line. Because if it's
Yep.
about winning, then they can't offer him enough money to stay there. If he doesn't care about winning, then they can offer him money and he can go ahead and stay there. That's really what's going to boil down to. Mike, what are your thoughts overall on Pittsburgh?
I mean, going off what Dom said, especially the owner. If you're a Pittsburgh fan, you're kind of okay because you have the Steelers and Penguins who have brought you championships in good years, so you don't really have to worry about it. But I mean, you're the lone baseball fan in Pittsburgh. It sucks to see these two other major sports owners and teams bringing championships to you, but your baseball team isn't. But
Good
it's
point.
just, I mean, the way I see it is they're basically the Las Vegas A's or the whatever they're called, the just athletics of Major League Baseball of the National League. You got the owner who doesn't want to spend. Maybe now with this move to Vegas, the A's are going to start spending because they're going to be in a bigger market. But it's just you got the owner who doesn't want to open his checkbook to sign some guys at big deals. I mean, yeah, they locked up Brian Hayes, but I think that was $100 million or under $100 million. But they're not going out and getting guys. I mean, Henry Davis was a 1-1 overall pick. Joey Bart's a 1-2 overall pick, and you're talking about their third string who's going to probably beat him out for that position. It's like, where are you going wrong with these drafting into these signings?
Yeah. Actually, Brian was 8 years, $70 million.
Yeah,
It
Right,
was
Wow.
close.
So he's locked in. You know,
Yeah,
Mhm.
he's
He's
locked
earning his
in until
money.
2030.
he's earning his money.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. And then next we have John's favorite team. This team did absolutely nothing. They had no nothing. I mean, they didn't do anything other than lose Goldschmidt and Kittredge. That's it. They didn't add anybody. At least at the time of this, that maybe they signed somebody, this afternoon for $1 million, but they really have done nothing. And I don't know. I don't know what they're good. I don't
it's
know
funny
what
you
they're
say
gonna
that
do.
because somebody did sign today.
Oh, did they?
A right-hand pitcher, Zane Mills, assigned to the Cardinals.
Did you just make that up?
No, it's on MLB. They
That's
picked up a good
hilarious.
amount of people yesterday too. They got a bunch of signings yesterday.
But I mean, they've done nothing notable. They're trying to get Nolan to waive his no trade so they can go ahead and move his ass out. Look, you got Wynn, you got Walker, you got Nootbaar, you got Burleson, a nice, a couple young guys, even Herrera at the catcher. But I don't know. I don't know how this. To me, I mean, I don't know what this team does. There's nothing here that gets you excited. So, Big John, how about you?
Colonels suck. I hope they suck forever. They can continue sucking to the end of time. Wilson Contreras, you are a traitor. Nolan Arenado, waive your no trade and go to the Cubs if Matt Shaw doesn't pan out and beat them census. I do not like the Cardinals at all.
I'm sensing that.
Okay, so I don't know, man. They didn't do anything. Yeah, they didn't do anything like Seattle didn't do anything. The difference is Seattle was a couple games away from winning or being in the playoffs. They were nowhere near being in the playoffs. So I don't know if they just think Jordan Walker is going to finally be great or Donovan's going to be great, but whatever. Move on.
Matt?
I mean, he summed it up the best. I mean, yeah, I don't like the Cardinals. Obviously, how could I? They've done nothing, literally nothing. So clearly, they're not trying at this point. You're right. Contreras is a traitor. The fact that he's at first base, that's kind of funny. I didn't realize that had happened. So, yeah, I mean, wins. Mason win. That's a highlight there. That's about it. Yeah, they suck.
Mike?
It's my last place team for the division. Nothing exciting. Not sure what they're doing unless they're gonna do a bunch of stuff during this season. But you could also say they're similar to the Giants. They're always a well-run organization, and they could just make a sneaky run. But I don't see it happening this year for them.
Tommy?
I think I agree with you there. Last place CEO. Huddle, I'm actually surprised. I just was looking at this now. That Steven Matz is still on the team.
Yeah.
He's a Long Island guy. Grew up not too far away from where I live now. They got some good kids. I've been hearing some noise, just listening to the MLB, station and stuff about this kid Weatherholt at shortstop, but, Wynn might be blocking him. Newt good kid. There's some good kids there. Luke and Baker, I'm hoping, makes some impact. Jordan Walker he's just not doing it. He is. I watched a ton of him play 2 years ago in the Arizona Fall League, and he just has the kid's all smiles, and he was crushing it down there, and he can't deliver. I'm a huge Jordan Walker fan. This Cardinals team now is how I had talked about with the Rays last year. The shine is gone, right? They were just a perennial contender, and I don't know what the hell they're doing. I think the GM's resigning after this year. It shouldn't even be in place. If what did you do? None? What do you like? And then you sign some guy that CEO Mike just made up. I don't get it.
Well, the interesting thing about Jordan Walker is earlier today, while trying to catch a fly ball, he stepped on a sprinkler head.
What?
And hurt his knee, and he's going to be out at least a week.
Are you messing with me?
No, it's on ESPN. I'm just
That's crazy.
I'm looking right now. So,
all right, I'm going to bed.
So with that being the last team in the Central, I mean, are we thinking it's a Cubs Milwaukee division with the Reds of maybe a potential if they get pitching? Obviously, it's not St. Louis, and I wouldn't think it's St. Louis. I wouldn't think it's Pittsburgh.
I think it's either way. Even if Reds add pitching, I think it's still just Cubs and Brewers.
Cubs and Brewers.
Do we see a wild card team coming out of this division?
It's gonna be hard with the East and the West.
Right?
Yeah.
There are 6 teams in the East and West that that should be really good. So, Mantis, how you doing? Welcome.
Oh.
And then we get to the last division, and we have the baseball team from Georgia.
You had to start with them?
Ooh, I see somebody else got some hatred in their heart.
Why don't you start?
They can't suck enough.
I hate this team.
They added profile. I mean, look, they were injury riddled last year, and you don't root for an injury, but I wasn't sorry for it. I wouldn't mind if guys can't come back to their normal selves. This is but the truth of the matter is, you say whatever you want to say. this is a scary team. They have plenty of offense. They have plenty of potential there, which I can't stand. Their pitching is good. They have a good closer. It really sucks to have to say anything good about them. But I mean, when you look at them, honestly, if they stay healthy, they're going to be a good team. Only good thing is they haven't been able to go ahead and do that consistently throughout the year. So, Mike or Dom, if you guys want to go, or if you want to wait, we'll let the Cubs guys go.
I'll be quick. I have no comment on this. The only thing I will say is I hate this team very, very much.
Yes.
Well,
I am.
that's been instilled into you.
Well, we don't say their name. I didn't do that before Huddle, so And I've been watching these guys now for Huddle since you started the channel with the CEO, right? Watching you old Sunday chats with Deafness, So I go way back and following. I'm rooting for Jared Kelenic here. A healthy, as much as it hurts my heart a little bit to say, a healthy Acuna makes baseball better. But let's see, because he's had 2 major injuries now. Other than that, if these guys plane crash into a volcano, maybe my Keller connection finally goes back to where it was. Other than that, don't care. See ya. Last place.
Yeah, so
scary.
injuries are already starting. 2 days ago, their starting catcher, Mr. Murphy, got hurt. He's out 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, this is a scary team, though. They just, the way they lock up players and stuff. I looked at the Pacoda ratings, and they're projected to win 92. I don't see it. Given how much they've lost. The kid Schwellenbach or Schwellen sucks, whatever. Looks really good, but I don't know. We'll see.
So
Johnny.
So a good Atlanta Braves team is good for baseball, right? Good for the market, good for watch.
No way.
Maddie would know, being from Chicago, being in the Midwest, you watch Cub games and then you watch Braves games. You got to see both of those teams growing up. So,
yep.
With that being said, this team is as scary top to bottom as the Dodgers are without having the firepower in the bullpen, in the back of the bullpen, in the back of the pitching staff, right? Chris Sale, Spencer Strider, if they're on, they're Cy Young contenders. And that Harris, Acuna, Ozuna, Olsen, Albies, your 1 through 5 can get on base and makes for some long innings. So it'd be nice to see Acuna challenge Ohtani for a 50-50 season.
So when he comes back, do they give him the full green light? Right? Because do the Dodgers give Ohtani the green light to try to replicate, 70 steals again? Is that what you want these guys doing? Do you want Ohtani busting his shoulder up again? Do you want Acuna getting hurt? Obviously, it's something they could do easily, but do you give him the green light? Do they wait till he's fully healthy and then give him the green light, or because when does he even come back?
Yeah. Let's see if they have anything on him.
Well, good questions, but we shall see.
Yeah,
so go ahead, Matty.
I was just going to say, a big piece to this team is their health. They did well last year at losing Strider, losing Acuna, and other players. It's all about health with them. I dislike this team because every time I turn around, they're making some move that I just don't understand how they pulled off. like with the Kellenic deal, with Olsen, with whatever else they're doing. It always
Or
seems
Murphy.
like, yeah, it. I don't understand how they do it.
Yep.
But it's just crazy to me. So I mean, they're in it for sure.
And you make a great point, because look at this. When you look at that team, so their third Riley, he's signed through 2034. Olsen is signed through 2030 through 31. Pofar through 28, Acuna through 29, Strider through 30, Murphy through 30, Michael Harris through 33, Albies
Grief.
through 28.
And nobody's making more than $20 million a year, right? Besides maybe Olsen.
Riley and Olsen are both at 21.
Damn.
For right now. I don't know how much, things go up and stuff like that now. When you look at Acuna's at his max. He's at 17 million. 12, he's making 17 million, and he won't make any more than that. So I mean, they unfortunately they are in a they're in a situation where they're not, their guys aren't that old. Again, now, but injuries. So if you're getting in, think about it. One thing, very difficult for guys who get a lot of injuries in their 20s to be effective when they get in their 30s. But it does happen.
Yeah.
It definitely does happen. But look, they're going to battle. They're going to be a top 3 team. Again, unless they have injuries could go ahead and affect them. But they should be a top 3 team. In that division.
Even if they get injuries, the ghosts of Dale Murphy and Chipper Jones are going to pop up somewhere and help them. So, just saying.
Probably true.
Just saying.
Miami Marlins, they're another team that didn't do much. They did get Matt Mervis from the Cubbies. They lost Luzardo to Philadelphia. I mean, they got young players. Going to be interesting. Mike, what are your thoughts?
Good to see Sandy back. Besides that, not an exciting team really to watch, in my opinion, unless there's somebody on that list that I don't really know about. But yeah, good for them for whatever they did, I guess.
Big John?
They're the Marlins, right? They have never been committed to winning. When they do go on a run, it's out of luck or out of spite. So it's the Marlins.
Dom?
Another case of crappy owners. Revolving, higher ups with Kim Nig and NG. I don't know. Who I thought was solid, right? Was really trying there. Jeter left, and they gave up his ownership stake. Okay, so what does that tell you about these guys, right? They fleece taxpayers to get the stadium built. It gets more fans for international play, Caribbean World Series qualifiers and stuff like that, and the World Baseball Classic. Like, it gets to draw more fans for that stuff, and maybe like local Little League games. I said last week, they should combine with the Rays and just make one team. There's some exciting kids here. Max Acosta, I'm hoping he finally comes up. Sandy, it's nice to see him as, return to Cy Young form, but they don't even deserve to be a Major League Baseball team. Again, what is Rona doing? I don't get it.
Current payroll allocations, $47 million.
We have a guy making more money than that.
Yeah. That's their current payroll allocations, $47 million.
There's got to, this is a team that should have, this grievance filed against them from the players union, because I think they're getting $70 to $100 million. Where is that money going between profit sharing and again, another wonky with the TV deal stuff? But geez, What do you know?
I don't know.
The
Man.
Angels have more players on the disabled list than the Marlins payroll.
True. Maddie?
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly the owners don't care. I mean, I will say for Mervis, it's good to see him in a situation where he might be able to actually get some playing time. I mean, I'm sure he'll do well. I think he'll. I mean, I'm assuming his batting average won't be great, but he'll hit some bombs and so there's not much to look at with this team.
Xavier Edwards is probably the most exciting player on that team from an offensive perspective. Obviously, you have Sandy being back, Max Meyer. They have another kid, Noble Meyer, in the in the minor league system and everything. But yeah, I mean, not much of much. Oh, I don't know if the Beast is here, but the Washington Nationals. Mike, you go first.
Another case of the Marlins is, I mean, you got exciting young guys in James Wood, Dylan Cruz, that outfield. But I mean, other than that, I mean, between them and the Marlins, it's the battle for them for fourth and fifth really in this division. So congratulations to them, whoever gets fourth and whoever gets fifth, I guess. But not really exciting team to watch, in my opinion, besides the young guys. But that's all I got.
John?
I mean, this is an exciting young team when you think about it, right? Dylan Cruz, CJ Abrams, James Wood. Excited to see them get some playing time and play. But again, probably fourth team. They're not going to be competing for anything significant, but just experience.
Dom?
Very interesting saga seems to have come to a close. It looks like as of yesterday with the television rights. Basically, they got like put into a little brother, big brother situation because of the territory with Baltimore. Definitely some really solid, good young kids here. I don't even see Hassel on the list here, right? So let's see if he comes up. They got a nice problem. Where do you play everybody? Where do you play all these kids while they're up? I'm personally rooting for Darren Baker. Dusty's kid. Darren Baker is the kid that JT Snow pulled up in the World Series before he got clobbered. So, and he had initially signed with the Nationals way back when Dusty was still there. It's going to be interesting, right? Because now they're up for sale again. I think the Lerner family didn't get close to what they were looking for the team. It should be interesting to see what happens with them television right wise. And again, that's bigger than just the on-field product, but you need to know where your revenue is coming from. The Nationals just seem to be a place where it's them, the Marlins, where players can just collect a paycheck. There's an exciting core of players here, but how the hell are they ever going to be competitive? If they don't, they won the World Series 7 years ago, 6 years ago, whatever it was, 18, whatever, I forget, but how do you, think about how many players, have left, that were elite level. They had a Scherzer, obviously the Strasburg contract didn't work out. Soto, got dealt because he probably looked around and said, why the hell would I sign here for, 13 years for $400 million? He won that. Obviously, we'll get to it. But how are they, what do they do? How do they be competitive? That's, we've got the kids that are, lighting up the, the rookie card chase in Series 1. I guess, realistically, they should be a fourth place team.
Yeah. Maddie?
Yeah, I was just thinking with all those names mentioned, I mean, what's that locker room look like? Like, is it because all these players have came and gone. They were great 6, 7 years ago, but now, I mean, it'll be telling to see with James Wood, Dylan Cruz, Abrams, if they actually stick around. I mean, they did. It's clear they're trying a little bit. I mean, they do have some decent acquisitions this year, and they didn't lose much. But yeah, they're. I would say they definitely finish in front of Miami, just with that young core. You would assume, but not much better.
Yeah, I mean, look, I agree. Eloy, how's it going, buddy? How are you? Hope all is
Hey,
well.
Loy.
Anyway,
You know, look, young team, 3 young guys in the outfield, 2 young guys in the infield. Wow, Lowe, DeJong, Bell. I mean, they're your leaders in probably in the clubhouse from that standpoint. You know, Gore. I mean, hey, what is he going to become? Is he going to turn that corner of what the Padres always thought he was? I mean, he was one of the key pieces, with the Soto trade. So I mean, hopefully he turns out to them. But I agree. I mean, I think they're at a point to where, you will become competitive in a few years down the road if you are willing to spend the money. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. You have to be willing to spend the money. If you're willing to spend the money, then I think you have a shot at going ahead and, in the future. But it's going to be hard in this division. It's always going to be hard in this division. Then we have the Philadelphia Phillies. They obviously didn't lose much. Hey Dusty, how you doing, buddy? Luzardo, I think, is a little sneaky. If he's healthy, that's a little sneaky, acquisition. Romano, good. Kepler, I don't know. Minnesota. He was one of those guys who was supposed to be something in Minnesota, and he just never panned out. And well, Joe Ross has just been one of those guys you kind of sort of just throw out there. You look at the offense. I mean, they are getting older. Between Schwarber, Castellanos, Kepler, Turner, Harper, Realmuto. I mean, those guys are getting, they are getting a little older, but they all are still good baseball players. This team is going to be, it's good. They're going to be 1, 2, or 3. I mean, there's no doubt, no doubt about that. So, Maddie, thoughts?
Yeah, they're a good team. Clearly, they're very experienced. I mean, I think really decent pitching. As far as their lineup, I mean, they have a soft place for me because I really like Castellanos and Schwarber. Schwarber is like one of my favorite players, but aside from all that, yeah, I mean, I think they'll make some. They could be decent, but looking at 2 of the other teams in the division, I don't know how they overtake them. So it's possible, but they're going to have to play on fire for that to happen. So,
Dom?
All right. So, Maddie, skateboarder of the year ice, keep in mind that this team just won the division last year, right?
Very true. Yeah.
And with, I think with a better team now, slightly better than what they got. Obviously, Castellanos regressed a little bit. Pitching staff, maybe we finally see a healthy Painter. They've got, a couple of big boy prospects coming up, in Crawford and Aiden Miller. Potentially, I think we see Crawford first. If one of these guys struggles out there, maybe these kids come in. To me, and I've mentioned this a few times in this stream, this is a top 3 pitching staff, right? Zach Wheeler, multiple years. I know Sale had the key stats. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball, and he's underrated, right? Him, Nola are sticking around for the long haul. I'm a big fan of Jesus Luzardo. The dude just can't stay healthy. I really, and it's sad to see, Taijuan Walker regress. I got to be honest with you, this team is scarier to me than the Braves are. This lineup, Atlanta's got a big boy lineup. So do the Phillies, man, and they got guys that can mash. Somebody like Schwarber, is scary. Yeah, he's hitting, 234, 240. But he can hit the ball to another state, and didn't look like he fell off that much. CEO Huddle, man, I gotta be honest with you. With the state of the pitching staff for our Mets, I think this is our first place team for a while, for a good start to the season.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. This team, I think those additions besides Joe Ross, I think Kepler is going to benefit from being around a lefty bat like Harper and just Harper in general. Romano is very decent. I mean, I think he has, looking it up, he has a career 2.9 ERA. Luzardo, if he can stay healthy, that's a great 3-4 for them in their lineup. I mean, Zach and Aaron as their 1-2. I mean, it's a top 1-2 punch in the league. I mean, in the lineup, like you said, mashes. I mean, you got JT who can put up 25 plus homers, Bryce Harper 30 plus, Bryson Scott will get on base, Baum, Young, Turner get on base. I mean, they find a way to put the ball in play and get on all the time. So this is the scary team for me in the East. That's going to be the 1-2 for sure.
Multiple MVPs on this year too. I thought Turner was going to take it in 2023, and he was one of my top picks for 2024 as well. Just seeing how he was sitting in the middle of that lineup. These guys are scary.
Mm-hmm.
Big John, you around?
Yeah, I'm here. Philadelphia. The easy thing to say about Philly, they have Bryce Harper. And if you have Bryce Harper playing at MVP level, you have a chance to win. It's going to be a dogfight in the East, right? Braves, Philly, Mets, that's your 3 teams that are going to fight it out. And if their pitching looks really, really good on paper, they should be able to win games 4-3, 5-1, So probably a good 85 win team.
So,
and the fact that Schwarber leading off with his, even though his batting average is poor, he walks a lot. So he gets on base, he walks a lot, and when he hits the ball, it's usually a home run. So
the one thing this team potentially could have going against them is they are an older team.
Mm-hmm.
Wheeler is 35, Turner's 32, Harper's 32, Nola's 32, JT's 34, Castellanos is 33, Schwarber's 32, Taijuan Walker's 32, Max Kepler. I'm not gonna lie, I am shocked. Max Kepler is 32 years old.
mm-hmm.
I did not realize that. Suarez 29, Romano 32, Baum 28, Stram, the other reliever, is 33, Alvarado 30. So they're not a young team, But when you look at their starters, Bryson Stott is their youngest starter at 27. So they are an old team, which means hopefully they won't be around for that long. But I look at that pitching staff. If Luzardo is Luzardo of a couple of years ago, that's a good 4. That's a really good 1 through 4.
Even the start of last year, before he got hurt, he was lighting it up.
Yeah. Yep. So, and then
You're world champs. Bum, bum, bum. Hey, why are you guys laughing?
Mike, I'm going to let you go first.
I didn't know you was a comedian, Dom.
Yeah.
I am funny looking.
So am I, my friend.
That's your birthday.
Go ahead, Mike. Oh, well, hold on. Time out. Before we leave, I do want to go back. I have the one thing I wonder about this team is this: if they are close, do they call up the Angels
Don't say that.
and ask about
Yes.
number 27, Mike Trout?
Brute.
That's my only question about that team. So,
That's a good point.
Mike,
God, that would suck.
floor is yours.
The floor is mine.
Yeah.
I mean, good off season for this team right here. I mean, don't know if you could do much better. I mean, love the additions. Of course, the 2 names there at the top of the list. Very happy we finally got something worked out with Pete. Was extremely happy when I got the notification about Soto, and then all the texts are, "Oh, you overpaid for him." Guess what? Not my money. Don't care. But he's on my team for the next 15 years, so that's okay with me. The biggest thing with this team, like it always is the pitching. Are we going to be healthy, which we're already not off to a great start? And if we can keep it, I mean, I would have loved to see maybe some bigger names on the starting rotation to go after. But, I mean, other than that, like how we're looking. I mean, the big thing for me for the infield is I really thought we would have moved on from Jeff. You guys might have other opinions, not the biggest. Appreciate what he did with us the last couple of years, but I think it's time for us to move on, especially when you got Ronnie coming back. We got Acuna up. We got Jet, who's due up this year or next year. So I thought we would have moved him. But, I mean, other than that, very excited for this team. Think we'll be first or second and then move on into the playoffs and go from there. I love that we got an owner who isn't necessarily a owner to make money. He's just a lifelong fan and just wants to do whatever he can to bring a championship to this team, which is awesome to have the backing of the richest owner in baseball to do that. So it's a great feeling.
Big John?
Y'all guys made a lot of moves in his offseason, picking up a lot of names. Big name is Soto. Y'all kept Alonso, which I think is important from a locker room standpoint. You got him and Lindor in that locker room. We've been Mets forever, it seems like, to ingratiate Soto in that culture. You're the third team in the fight, though, but you got second biggest bat in the division, right? I think you go, Acuna then Soto as far as biggest bats for threats in there. If you guys don't make the playoffs, the season is y'all gonna whine, basically.
I'm about to.
That's the nice way to say it, right? It won't matter that the Braves are good or the Phillies are good. If y'all don't make the playoffs, everybody in New York's gonna whine why y'all make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong from that standpoint. Dom?
All right, so I am about to whine. Okay. Now, boy, since Cohen has taken over, it's a nice breath of fresh air because the Wilpons spent money, more money than the Mets, than the average fan was giving them credit for. But then they lost money in the Madoff Ponzi scheme, and they're a bunch of assholes anyway, right? So it's nice to have a commitment to the team. The Wilpons were more worried about real estate than they were about running the Mets at the end. So, and Cohen saw some of this because he was a minority owner, right? And he just bought a bigger stake. The Wilpons actually still own a small stake, and they own the network, right? So they're one of the teams that owns their own network. All right. So there's two narratives here. With Stearns is that he's not going to give long-term contracts to starting pitchers, and I don't think that is when you are committing the amount of money you have committed, right, to this team. When you have multiple $30 million a year players now, and multiple $20 million a year players, you've got to spend the money somewhere, right? They could have went after and should have went after Burns. I wanted them to go after Montgomery. Obviously, he had a crappy year the year before. I mean, Honer doesn't even want him around in Arizona, so I was hoping there would be a Marte for a Montgomery swap. They let a lot of guys go. Bringing back Manaea was a really good deal. I don't really know what I don't know why they thought Montas was a good deal, and I would be saying that if he was healthy now, right? Where they could have gotten a Bueller or I think the price was too high for Dylan Cease over in there was no way, like what the reports were here, because I read a lot of I opened up a home screen, the MSN home screen at work when I'm going for files and stuff, and I go, ooh, there's an article about the Mets, right? So it's all hearsay. It wasn't, it's not like San Diego ever said, hey, here's what we're going to offer. But there's no way in hell I was giving that up for 1 year of Cease. It was talking about, Beatty, Williams, Mauricio, and Gilbert or McGill or somebody. So the narrative to the beginning of last season of 2023, right, when they had the sell off in the middle of 22, and if I'm messing these up, I apologize. Right, was we're not going to compete for 2025 and blah blah blah, which I knew was bullshit, right? Because you weren't going to waste prime years of all stars, like a Lindor. Right. And that was a bad move within itself because they could have just waited a year to sign him and not traded away Andres Jimenez, and they wouldn't have to worry about second base. Although Acuna and Mauricio were going to give them a run for money. Realistically, Mauricio belongs at third base because he's just a better fielder than Vientos is. But maybe he goes as second. Jeff McNeil's my favorite active player. It might be time to cut ties with him. I just don't know who's going to take his contract, and I don't know if we want to cut him outright. It'd be sad to see him go, but we'll see. So, you said you weren't going to be competitive, that you wanted the team to be sustainable, and then the whole offseason I was like, don't go with 301, don't go with 301. I know it's not my money, right? But I go to a bunch of games, right? And there's been a lot of I was toying with a season package, right? But the season packages, even a 20-game package, it was going to work out perfect for me because I would be coaching in this, in the surrounding area on Sundays and then go to a game. But they started, they took away the Yankee game. They took away opening day, right? So, as much as this guy is spending money and he's reinvesting into the team. Mike, I sent you the file to your phone. Honestly, my phone's too small for me to really read it. I tried to email it to you, but of who puts what into their team. So the Mets were at 102% of revenue where they put back into the team. Obviously, this year is skewed a bit, right? Because you signed Soto to a monster contract. That is a shit ton of money to give to somebody. who is a kind of one-dimensional player, right? Where he's a big bat. You already have that in Alonso. Soto is the better player and hitter. But they said they were going to be sustainable. So as a Mets fan now, I watched them go over 301. That means that for a player like Severino who signed somewhere else, that draft pick from going a higher pick, which the A's would have had to give up. Now it's a 4th round pick, right? They lose international pool money. They just now they're going to pay a shit ton of money in taxes again, and they got to get under this threshold because the fan who shows up to the game pays for it. When they signed Soto, there was a lot of stupidity. Oh, have fun paying overpriced tickets. I'm like, yo, the Mets had the highest payroll for 2 years in a row, or pretty close to it last year, right? Ticket prices were already really high because it's $40 to park at Shea Stadium. It's ridiculous, and it didn't go up this year, but it's just like, man, it's an hour and a half from my apartment. I'm better off taking the train. There's a lot. I want them to be successful.
What about the product on the field?
Well, I mean, let's see. I mean, I'm rooting for them, right? How are they going to be without, with these two guys going down? They should have brought in for this amount of money that they were going to spend. You gave bleeping Jesse Winker $7.5 million a year. I don't want this guy around. I personally don't. I'm not the GM, but that and the money to Montas could have gone to a Bueller, or could have gone to a Bieber, or a Woodruff that they could have signed. Now they're hurt, yeah, but Montas is out for almost 2 months, and let's see when Minaya comes back. I am rooting for the team. I have a very, I don't want to say devious way. When I show up to a game to get tickets, I will show up and I will wait for somebody to lower the price on a good ticket. I don't want to sit up in the nosebleeds, right? I got a bum knee that's still healing. I don't want to climb all the way up to 500. I want a good seat. I work my butt off for my money, but I'm going to go for that $50 ticket. That's really a $200 ticket, because somebody's selling their ticket. So it doesn't always affect me. And when I go to the stadium, my mom's cool as shit. She, bought me a really generous gift card. So the 5 games I went to this year, I didn't pay for food out of pocket. Now she paid for it out of pocket, but she gets it back and help for me and stuff. So, an $18 beer and a $16 thing of vegan nachos isn't hurting my wallet right now because I have a big ass gift card with a lot of money on it. But,
Yeah, but here's the thing. Okay, and I don't mean to cut you off, but
no,
see here, here's the kind of the thing you were talking about with Pittsburgh and with Miami and all that other kind of stuff of what are they doing? But then you have an owner that is going ahead and doing everything that he can do. So it's like, which one do you want if you're a fan of the team?
I get it.
You know what I'm saying from that standpoint is that it's like, it's hard. It's it's hard to beat up Pittsburgh for not spending money, but then also beat up Cohen for spending money.
I don't, again, I'm not a GM. I'm an old guy that, sits on the couch, has a beer, and watches the games. They overspent for Marte. They overspent for Conforto, who had one healthy season before they gave him $20 million a year for 7 years. They overpaid initially for Lindor before he came alive last year. I'm still fuming about that because I take, Lindor is a better player than Jimenez, but and he's already been shot because they signed, the Guardians Indians signed him to that big deal.
Right.
They played hardball with Pete. Man, is there egg on Boris's face or what, man? And Pete,
yeah.
I'm indifferent about him. in the sense of I got a lot of money invested in baseball cards of his that I just like that I would have unloaded it completely if he signed with somewhere else. People were trying to trade me and sell me cards. I'm like, nope, I'm not buying any more of his cards till I find out where he's going. He might be a 1-year player for him. I don't know. They were smart there, but you threw the Brinks truck at Soto. Who's going to be the DH? In 8 more years, is it Lindor, or is it Soto?
Well, Lindor is under contract until 32. Soto is until 40.
So what, 30, 40, right? They just signed him like for infinity.
2040. Juan Soto's contract would take him until the 2040 season. we blow right through the 30s with him, and we go to 40. Lindor has what? We're in 2025. He still has 7 years on his contract. He'll be 38 years old. You don't know. I mean, hey, nothing says he can't move over to the third base.
Yeah.
And Vientos is over to first, and a Mauricio or an Acuna is at second and everything. But but we will go ahead and see. We will go ahead and see. Maddie, I want to get your thoughts.
I mean, yeah, it's interesting. The Mets are always interesting to me because, especially right now, they're spending money. I wish the Cubs would do the same thing, but they won't. But I look at our pitching for the Cubs compared to the Mets. I'm happy where our pitching is compared to this because your pitching is so old. Good grief. If they can't stay healthy, I mean, that's tough because, I mean, you're going to have run support. That's the good thing. You should with this roster. I mean, if you don't have run support, then there's something wrong because you've got a lot of studs on that offense. But especially, and I was glad to see that Alonso got re-signed because he needed to be a Met. So clearly that's where he wanted to be. It's just they were I don't know what they were doing. So it took them forever. But yeah, it's very interesting just to see the difference in the strategies between the teams. Would I love to have your offense? Heck yeah. The pitching, not so much.
I'll trade you Marte for PCA.
So you're right. You're right.
Nope.
When you look at it from that standpoint, 100%. So the pitching, you got Senga, Montas, and Holmes are all 32. Manaea's 33. Peterson is 29.
29.
You have a couple of good young arms, but none are ready. The Mets' problem that I have is, number one, I don't care what they gave to Soto. I really don't. I mean, look, he potentially is a generational player. When you look at what he has done so far and what he has the potential to go ahead and do in the future, whether it was, 600 million, 700 million. I mean, honestly, when you 700, 750 at that point in time, if you're in for a penny, you're in for a friggin' pound. You might as well go ahead and just, go for it, which I'm happy about. I understand the pitching standpoint. I think now my issue that I have with Stearns is I hope he's not one of these, when it comes to pitching, I hope he's not thinking that we have this ability to take guys like Manaea and turn him into something good, Severino, and make him healthy and go ahead and do what he wants to do. You just figure Severino, he signed for like what, $20-something million a year. He's like a 3-year, $70 million deal, just under a $70 million deal from the Athletics. And there was no way the Mets were going to go near that number. So I understand the Frankie Montas. He was with Milwaukee. Stearns knew him. Dude goes ahead and gets hurt. I mean, not a lot you can do about there. The Mets' biggest problem is that they're trying to take a bunch of these infielders that are their top prospects and turn them into outfielders. They're trying to do it with Jet. They even had Ronnie out there in the outfield. They put Acuna in the outfield.
They put Beatty out there.
They put Beatty out there. So that's a part of their issue, that you're looking at what they have, that they're loaded there. Now, a lot of people don't realize or may not understand, but Ilian Pena, the guy we signed, was with our international money, was considered the number one international player that was available until Sasaki decided that he was coming over. Then Sasaki went to number one. So Pena was the number two available, international player and stuff. And he's only 17 years old. This team has to depend on the bullpen too much. And that's where I get concerned. That's my biggest concern with this team is, can that bullpen go ahead and hold up? And you look at that bullpen right now and look at that. To the right of Minter's name, there's a little O. And you go to Nunez's name, and there's an O there. There's an O near Montas and an O near Minaya. It's 4 pitchers that are having health issues already. And how long has spring training been going on? 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks.
Yep.
So that's my biggest concern, from this team. McNeil, I kind of understand, Dom. I mean, and I think you're right. The contract there, but I don't. He's got 2 years left. I don't know, but you look at what. And now I know it was easier with Robinson Cano because of the issues he had, but Uncle Steve has shown that, hey, he will go ahead and let you go and not give a rat's ass.
Yep.
The Nimmo contract is the worst one. That's the one that's going to come back and take a big bite out of our ass, because he's not going to live anywhere near to that $160 million or $180 million contract that he got. So.
Yeah. Last year was solid. I'll give him that. He should have been an all-star last year.
Yeah, but but it is, what it is. We're hoping Mark Vientos has a good, second year after coming up and stuff like that. I think they made a mistake in not bringing JD Martinez back. I would have rather have seen JD Martinez over Jesse Winkler, because I think Martinez would have been a great kind of, assistant hitting coach with some of these young guys. And I think that was a big swing and a miss by Stearns there.
Winkler is a bum.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Winkler doesn't. I mean, he may be a rah-rah guy in the dugout, but in the clubhouse. But a better signing would have been JD, in my humble opinion. But hey, I'm happy with what they did. I'm glad they've gone ahead and set a foundation. Now it's a matter of what are they going to do about pitching, because the starting pitching is what is going to, really be the thing that's going to make them go. So I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, and then just today they sent basically the cream of the crop of their prospects down. Right, they cut Gilbert's, Jets, all of them, Sproat, Hamill. So it's gonna be interesting. I mean, look at those pickups, right? And and I'm still iffy about Clay Holmes being he looks good so far, being stretched out. Just like, man, that money could have went to somebody more proven, or make a trade, because they're overflowing with infield prospects, like you said. The offseason that they had, and it still didn't make the most noise in MLB, right? So
no, you're right, but the good thing that we have as Mets fans is we do have ammunition to go out there and get a Michael King, get a Dylan Cease, get a Mitch Keller, get somebody out there who, can go ahead and help us.
You might as well trade and go get Trout.
Oh my God!
Don't get
If
Mike
that
so
happened,
I mean, you might as well swing for the fences because
Mike's so excited right now.
you third.
you guys
might
have
as well
no
swing for the fences, right?
You guys have no idea how ecstatic I would be if that happened.
He would be unlivable. It would be I mean, if that move was ever made, it would be so hard to live with him, at least in the beginning.
He'd be begging you for a 1-on-1.
He go and get his own
In the
one-on-one.
Mets
Man.
uniform.
That means you guys got to get up here for a game. Now we would have to. So
Yeah.
There you go.
So I don't know. I mean, the National League, it's interesting. When you have 3 really good teams in the West, you have 3 really good teams in the East. And then you have the Central, which is, 1 really good team. So it's going to be, I mean, I could see, almost what happened last year happened the same thing this year of the 3 from the East, 3 from the West, and 1 from the Central. I don't know if
I think that's exactly what will happen.
Yeah, because I don't know if they have enough to get 2 90-win teams, and I think it's gonna probably you're gonna have to probably be in the high 80s, low 90s to make the playoffs.
I was gonna say, or will they even have a 90-win team? Like whoever wins that division could win 88 games. Like it's
you got the Cardinals to beat up on.
We do. Hallelujah.
We got the Cardinals and the White Sox to beat up on. So,
Oh, yeah.
That's about 20 wins right there.
Well, the White Sox, what do they play? 2-3 times a season? It's not, or maybe, 2 home and home. So
it's
home and
home.
home.
So it's like 6
like at least
games.
8 games right there. It's 8 W's.
So Mets and Yankees only play each other twice in each stadium. So, and the 2025 World Series champ Mets swept them this year. I just want to point that out. I was there for one of the games.
When do we get to a parallel universe?
I don't know. What are you talking about? Look. Just because your podcast partner, FD, don't respect the Mets, doesn't mean that they're not winning the World Series. All right.
Oh, they're just not winning the World Series because they're the Mets.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean,
the Cubs doing?
The Cubs ain't winning the World Series either. Let's just be realistic about it. We got another 95 years for our next one.
I mean, last I checked.
Oh, less than that. It's 91. Come on.
91. See, we got another 91 years to go. Well, we get another one.
Look, last I checked, the Mets were the third to last team standing last year, and they weren't built. They were not constructed to go to the World Series. That was very evident in the Dodgers series, right, where they couldn't hang. I don't know. I don't know if Brendan Sproat's coming up to save the season for the Mets. But I'm not fooling myself. I'm confident. Mets, that's it. Just don't even compete. It'll all be exhibition games. The next 10 years, Mets win the World Series. I'll take it.
I'm just messing with you, Dom. But I will say this: Lindor. If it wasn't for Ohtani, Lindor was the MVP last year.
Yeah,
he had a special season.
Yeah, and he had a month and a half of garbage to start off with, right? So, and he got hurt, and he missed 3 weeks. So
he has a healthy season. It could be pretty crazy to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know with Ohtani pitching now. It's going to be an automatic vote for him.
I mean, how many years does Ohtani have it locked up at this point? The next 5 at least, and we'll see.
Unless he blows his arm out again, there's only so much he can do with that,
Yeah,
he is 30.
Right.
know?
He wasn't a young pup when he came in.
When he came over, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But he was, but he had to put in 6 years. This is year 8
Yeah.
of him being in the in the majors. He's something special to watch. He's just maybe he gets busted for betting on ballerinas or something this year.
Maybe.
Baseball,
Gosh.
it's it's almost like what Herb Williams, Herm Edwards says. You pay that you play to play the games. So you got to go out there. Baseball does have there is unpredictability with baseball.
Yes,
And it
that's
is
what we love about it.
it is a humbling sport. For sure. You know, but I think overall, I'm overall looking forward to seeing, what it's going to turn out to, and it's going to be
Oh, yeah.
interesting because I think, it's going to be interesting to see where teams are, what kind of starts they get off to, and who's willing to go ahead and make those moves when they have to.
Yeah. Does anybody make some noise before the season starts?
No, maybe the team that needs to is Seattle.
Yeah.
They need to go get somebody.
They had all off season too.
Yeah.
Speaking of Seattle, I am fortunate enough to be going on a business trip the first week of April, and I'm going to the Mariners game on
Oh,
April
nice.
1st.
Nice.
Yeah. Tickets
That's really
were like
good.
$10.
Thanks for hanging out, Kenny. $10?
Dirt cheap. Like, I couldn't believe it. I mean, that stadium holds about 48,000, and I think
Wow.
for that market, that's probably why the tickets were that cheap. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I've always wanted to go there.
I didn't think that stadium held that many. Holy cow.
Pretty sure it's I think I told it's Julio bobblehead night, so obviously there's a certain someone that's going to be getting a bobblehead. But,
Me, right? That's going to me.
So you can
Mr. Fable maybe knock on your door for that.
He's already saying he's gonna PayPal me some money for all kinds of stuff, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, fellas, thank you very much for coming on tonight. It's much appreciated. Mike, John, Dom, Maddie, appreciate you guys coming on and talking baseball and everything.
This was awesome.
Appreciate you guys. Appreciate everybody in the chat and everything. Much appreciated. So we're gonna end it here, and again, have a great night, everybody. Talk to you later.
See you, everybody.
See ya.